I have 1,001 jokes about dating. My dating life has inspired endless amount of material curated in my head and on paper. Do I date for material? I want so badly to say no, but there has been men that I knew were just going to end up as a joke, and I just went with it anyways. When I look back on the way I dated and the type of men that I gravitated towards during certain times of my life, I can definitely say that there were marked periods that were bad, weird, and great. As a teenager, I desperately wanted a boyfriend. When I got one, I clung to him hard. There were so many problems with this relationship, but I didn't care whatsoever. Why did you like that boyfriend, Abby? Because he was my boyfriend, nothing more. Nothing more. When that was over, I got obsessed with this older man that was in a relationship. I was 19 and he was 32, which at the time seemed very fiery and scandalous. I worked with him and he truly became my best friend. Teenage Abby, for some reason, thought that because we were friends, that automatically meant that we were soulmates and that we belonged together. He would do the most minuscule amount of chivalry, and I would stop my mental love fireworks from happening in my brain. Oh my God, he handed me the stapler. Oh my God, he drove me home, even though he lives like in my direction. It's just showing that he cares. I had a complete shift in my 20s. 100% had no desire to get any attention from men. There was no dramatic dating or boyfriend event. I just didn't want to put myself out there or spend any mental energy into it. I found myself doing everything besides dating, painting, watching endless amount of TV, even gardening. In my early 20s, I was a 70-year-old widowed retiree. Around my mid-20s, I downloaded my first dating app. Oh, dating apps. The blessing and a curse, or more just a curse. The app that I downloaded first was OkCupid. I remember being so nervous and excited. In my mind, I was just days away from finding a boyfriend and being in love forever. Pressure much? The first date that I had from this app was, and I don't say this lightly, the fucking worst. The worst. It quickly slapped me in the face of the reality of online dating. I'd gotten so excited about meeting this man. He was older, he was charming, he had a beard, he lived in Ireland when he was a child. Obviously, he was my soulmate. Mm-hmm. When he showed up for the first date, he had shaven his beard, so I had low-key been catfished. His personality was nothing like it was on paper. He talked incessantly about himself and was very arrogant. It was about 1 hour into our one-sided conversation where he literally said the words, "I'm not anti-feminist per se." That's when I tuned out. At the end of that date, he tried to kiss me, which thankfully I avoided. I pulled the classic, "Oh, here's my cheek and not my lips." I still cringe at the thought of this man touching me. When I got home, I sat on my couch and stared at the wall for hours, and then finally got the courage to message him and tell him that I didn't feel a connection, and we never spoke again. After this garbage fire of a first date, I surprisingly continued to search for the love of my life. For a good 7-year span, I was dating a new person constantly. Just a series of one-monthers or one-nighters. Was I searching for love? Debatable. If you want to call it like it was needy, horny dating. I am a great 1-month girlfriend, however. I'm caring, I'm generous, I'm fun. You want to be around me, but obviously for a limited period of time. When I hit my 30s, I was less inclined to have this rotating door of men. My libido was still at an all-time high, but dating in that way in my 20s seemed exhausting, and also my back hurt. So also, fuck friends exist. I figured that out late. Zero attachment, primo sex. It's fucking beautiful. You see, when you meet all of these men, you can get a sample of the good and bad ones. You can keep the good ones around with boundaries. Has there been times where I've had multiple fuck friends at once? That's none of your business. That's none of anyone's business. But I have, yes, of course I have. fuck friends are people too, and they have lives and schedule. The likelihood of having one fuck friend available to you when you would like them to is slim. So having a couple to choose from is really smart. It all comes down to the math. Welcome to House of Stone. Welcome to House of Stone, the podcast where everyone has a story and we get into the nitty gritty of it all. Today's guest, we have Elspeth Wright. I have a bit of an intro for you. Elspeth Wright is, shall I say, one of the pillars of the Montreal comedy scene. She's been on Off JFL. She's been on Just for Laughs. She made her debut on Just for Laughs last year. She's the creator of Battle of Wits and Stand Up St. Henry. Her comedy style is clever and honest, and she's got tons of recognition for her talent, including 2021's Comedian to Watch by the Montreal Gazette. Did I miss anything there in that intro?
It was 2022.
2022. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Yes, 2022. Comedian to Watch.
It's still my year.
It's still your year, definitely. How can people find you? Tell us your handles.
Elspeth _ Wright on Instagram, and I think it's the same on Twitter. Honestly, if you type in Elspeth,
you're the only one.
It's easy. The blonde one.
Yes.
There's usually some boobs in the picture. I'm the boob Elspeth. That was a weird. My grandma's gonna listen to this. I apologize.
I just talked about having fuck friends. Grandma, I'm sorry. Like, she's tuned out. She's 100% tuned out. I hope you're still here, Grandma.
Yeah.
I hope you're still here. So let's start with how you got into comedy.
How did I get into comedy? Well, I've always, I was always an actor. When I was a kid, I was in all of the school plays, and then I studied theater in university. And so it's always just, I just love a room full of people looking at me.
That's amazing.
Under the right circumstances, because I also have a lot of social anxiety, but it's like when it's... Yeah. The purpose is that everyone's looking at me. I like it.
Kind of strange. There's a theme of comedians that have a lot of social anxiety, yet they put themselves on stage. They're very awkward, and then they're on stage as a completely different person. I know, I can relate to that 100%. I'm a big old weirdo. I don't like crowds. But yet I will stand in front of a crowd.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's different because it's more controlled, and you're showing them a curated version of yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
They're not seeing grocery store Elspeth. They're seeing, I've rehearsed this quite literally. And it's the most polished, but also weirdest version of myself. The things I say on stage, I feel like I would never really say, if I was on a first date or at a job interview or something but it's, I don't know, you're giving them a portion of yourself that you can control, and I think that makes it a little easier. Or a version of
yourself that you've chosen
to
present. Where when you're raw on your own, it's I don't know what version of myself you're getting. So I completely 100% get that. Yeah. So you studied theater. You were kind of in that world. And when did you first hit the stage?
Yeah. So I started my official comedy birthday is December 2018. But I had done a couple open mics before then. I did an open mic every 6 months.
Okay.
For a while. Okay. I do one and then just that was scary, and then just keep going back.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to figure it out. And then December 2018, I was just I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna take it seriously.
Yeah.
And I just got so addicted so quickly. It was I just by January of 2019, I was trying to do a show at least. I remember being oh my gosh, I have shows every week this month. And I'm just oh, you poor sweet kid. You still got sleep.
Yeah.
That's so cute for you.
Yeah.
But I love it, and it's been going since there.
Yeah. So. Where was your first open mic? What mic did you do?
Grumpy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
That's a tough one to start with.
Yeah.
And you wanted to do it?
I think that's my first 3 sets were at Grumpy's. And I think that's why I took 6 months off between the first ones and didn't officially start until like a year after I had done it for the first time.
I mean, for listeners that don't know, Grumpy's is a bar in Montreal that has an open mic every week. And it is a hard room. It's a later show. You kind of like show up, you sign up and you go up. And most of the people there do not want to hear comedy whatsoever. They're at the bar, they're getting drunk, they're regulars there. They're just like so bitter that this happens every single week.
I love it so much.
I know, I do love it.
I also, it was back, pre-pandemic when it was a little more loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And and so I went with like a bunch of friends. And so like this was when the show went until close.
Yes.
So like, because I brought the audience, I was on at like 2:30 and I got there like when it opened because I was very me about it. I was like, okay, I'm here. Yeah. I have my notes. I have my special little outfit. Like, I was just like 13 hours later, I got on stage, just so nervous. Yeah. Like, cause it's like, I still get really nervous before shows, but like, I like took the day off work to do Grumpy's, which looking back is adorable and stupid, but,
so cute. That is so cute. Well, like when I did stand up for the first time, I wasn't working at the time. I was in school and it was in the summer and I wasn't working. So I literally was at home all day thinking about it, rehearsing it, like just staring at the wall, so nervous. And now looking, it's like I don't even think about my set till I get to the venue.
I get nervous before every set still.
Unless I need to do new material, I want to do new material. But like even then, like the time limit is very short compared to what it used to be. For sure. Yeah. Do you remember your first set?
A little bit. There was a joke that I still do sometimes. I obviously changed a lot about how I'd be good at getting kidnapped. I did that for the first time in like a year, like the other day.
Did it work?
It did, except I think I've definitely fallen out of love with that joke. Like it's definitely and there is a couple. I feel like I was just like way too self-deprecating at first. Yeah. And like to the point where it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of people.
I have to find that balance all the time. All the time. People don't like, they're like, no, you're a great person. Like audiences are kind, but you're just like, no, you have to believe me that I suck.
Yeah. And it's uncomfortable too. Like now, looking back at some of my older stuff, or like if I see someone else who's just like talking shit about themselves, it's like, I just want to hug you. Like I can't see your demons from the audience.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like, I think I don't really use a lot of those jokes anymore.
Okay. I don't remember. I mean, I've said this in I think the first podcast that I don't remember any of my first set. Like I really don't. And I found a recording of it on my phone, and I realized that it was that set, and I refused to listen to it. I just think that it'll just shake my foundation. I think. Yeah. But I remember it not being good. My first set was at the Nest. Which ridiculous. It was fun, but it was like, it's such it feels so high pressure. Yeah. Even now.
Oh, I was like 6 months in by the time I finally went to the Nest. Like I think I did it in like April.
Yeah. I like literally started at the Nest, and that was the only place I did it for like a long time because I was so intimidated by the people in the scene and other locations. I mean, I did the Comedy Works, and I mean, you started after the Comedy Works went away. But yeah, I did the Comedy Works, I think, but like those were the two that and it was mostly the Nest because I was like comfortable there. It just, I could hide there. I can, email, get a call, then hide in the back and then go. Like I didn't have to interact with anyone, network or what, I hate that. And I hate that word, network with anyone to like get on their show, their open mic. I just didn't want to do any of that, or it was just so intimidating. But yeah, I don't remember any of my set, but I do remember it not being good.
I'm sure that's the thing though. I feel like with anyone who like does more than like a couple sets and like becomes like a comedian, like it has to have been like at least a little good. Like I can't imagine you doing a set that's fully terrible, but it's definitely you're so much better now because you've been doing it and are, improving as with anything. And
Sarah Quinn hosted that open mic that I did, and she's like, I don't remember the material, but she said she remembers really liking me on stage, but she can't say a bad thing about anyone. So like, I'm like, what is true?
Yeah. Why are you lying to me? Yeah.
So anyway, I do remember meeting you for the first time. Do you remember meeting?
I do. It was outside of World's Smallest.
Yes.
And so many people had been like, do you know Abby Stonehouse? You two will love each other.
Yeah.
And then like ages later we met
Yeah.
outside of World's Smallest. I was like, you're Abby. It was like starstruck because so many people had been telling me about you. And I was like, still new. But I remember I was just like, she's just as nice as everyone says. Like,
I mean, I remember hearing your name and then seeing your name on social media, and like for some reason our paths didn't cross for so long. But that was like, I don't know. There was probably a million reasons why. Like I was at school in the time, and like it was just like, I don't know. But anyway, so we finally in front of World's Smallest. Yeah, I remember that. It was really cool.
Yeah.
I like moments where I remember someone for like meeting them for the first time. Like
same.
I mentioned it in a couple episodes back with like Michelle. Is like I remember the first time meeting Michelle. I remember the first time seeing her on stage. I don't know. There's something like magical about those moments. I don't know. Anyways, I wanted to have you on this episode with talking about dating because, I mean, I feel like that's where we've connected most in our friendship in the past. Like we had a road trip to Toronto a few years ago, and I feel like we talked about the boys we had crushes on the entire time. The entire time. So I wanted to talk about dating with you. I mean, I have a ton of questions that we can go on, but like, can you relate to having like a trend in your dating?
Oh my God. Are you emotionally unavailable? I'm interested. That's kind of, I was thinking about this on the way here, and for like the men I've dated, it's definitely emotional, unavailable, and beard. And I feel like that's just something I really need to talk about in therapy. But I mean, we like a beard. I love a beard.
Do you remember a few years ago we were chatting? There is a online dating app for men with beards.
Yes.
It's not active anymore.
Yeah,
it's not active.
I had it when it was active.
But you told me about it, and I downloaded it right away. Because I was like, of course, I need this in my life, but it's not active. It obviously died very quickly.
Yeah.
Like the whole platform is like really old, or like at least like 4 years ago it was like really, really old and like didn't work anyways. But it's not a bad idea. I don't know, software developers. But yes, beards, emotionally unavailable. Definitely can relate to that. My boyfriend now has no beard and is very emotionally available.
That's disgusting.
It's so gross. It is
I just
so
threw
weird.
up in my mouth.
It is so weird. I don't understand. I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, no, you're not supposed to be this nice. You're not supposed to. Anyways, it's fine. Do you remember one of the worst dates you've ever been on?
Oh my gosh, as you were talking, I was remembering so many of them. There was one that I went on a couple years ago, and it was the date after this date. I actually met somebody that I dated for like a year or so.
Okay.
So, and I feel like that's maybe also why I remember it, but also because it was just truly awful. So I went on a date with this guy. We met on like OkCupid, and like he was cute, but just like off his rocker, and not in a fun way like me. Like he was one of those people, you know, like when you say a word and then they associate that word to a song and just start singing that song.
Oh no.
Yeah. So bad. It was all Disney songs or musicals, which is like my least favorite.
Did he like make did he make eye contact with you?
Oh, and it was
just start
loud.
singing?
It was like a bravado. Like I'd be
nice.
Look. And he'd go, look at this stuff. But it was like every 30 seconds. Like it was so bad. And then it just like got worse.
Oh no.
And, like we went to St. Ambrose Brewery.
Yeah.
Which is lovely. Like the terrace there, so nice. And we're sitting out there, and like for some reason I like mentioned, it was when Trump was still president, and I like mentioned it, and he was like this big grown man in his 30s. And I mentioned Trump, and he just goes, "Oh, that makes me want to go home and cuddle with my teddies." And I was just saying it right now just made me quiver.
Oh my God.
My whole body. And I was like,
oh my God.
Okay. And like, I was like, all right, let's go. Let's leave this situation. I hate it here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on the way home, this was like before I did like a lot of therapy. So like I was still sort of like, I have to people please everyone. And I was so uncomfortable. Like this man was making me feel physically ill just with his personality. And I really hope he's found someone who loves musicals, because he was nice. 100% he was just awful.
A Disney princess weirdo out there for this man.
Yeah.
But you don't have to fill that.
Yeah. And then like he texted me and was like, "Want to hang out on Thursday?" And actually I remember, because it was on like the date he suggested to hang out was my birthday, and I was doing my second open mic ever at Grumpy's again, because what a stupid way to spend your birthday, but whatever. And I was like, "No, it's my birthday." He's like, "Oh, I'd love to see you." I was like, first of all, why would you invite yourself to somebody's birthday after you've been on one date with them? That's insane.
No, absolutely not. That's insane.
And yeah, I think he also like went for the kiss, and I gave him the cheek. Which even like I've kissed people I've had terrible days with, because I just love kissing. So
kissing is
like,
really fun.
Yeah, for me to give you the cheek, it has to be like bad. Like
I've had that's a terrible. Like I can relate. Like I've had terrible dates where like I still want to kiss them just to see like they're okay. Yeah. Is it really that bad? Can
exactly.
Like it's like another like confirmation. Like okay, physically this is bad, but like I don't know. I've definitely went on dates where like, how do you get out of this Disney singing character weirdo? Like, how did you get out of that date?
Like honestly, we went for coffee after going to the brewery, because I just couldn't like. And the thing is, it's been a while since I've been on like a proper date. Like I've like hung out with people, and I feel like even like the last date I went on, it was like a fine date. Like we didn't really click, and so it was like a mutual ghosting situation, which also I was gonna ghost you.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking at the camera in case he's watching this. I was gonna ghost you. How dare you ghost me?
Yeah.
And we both go. That's offensive.
She had the upper hand here.
I had the upper hand.
Yes. Yeah. No, I get that. That. It's funny because you said that like you went on a date with this guy before you started dating a guy, like right after for like a year. Mike doesn't know, my boyfriend doesn't know this, but like the week that I started dating Mike, like I went on this, like I met this guy on Hinge, and I was like really nervous about the date with Mike. So like I was just like, I'm just gonna go on this date. I'm just gonna go, just like get the jitters out. This date was this was bad. This was like, it was a bad date. There was nothing wrong with him. We just didn't click. He did not know how to carry a conversation whatsoever. So the date was like done within 45 minutes, like, which is the short.
That is
like
short.
that's really, it's like, okay, I gotta go, like, bye. And then like we both like mutual, like same thing. Like we both didn't text each other like afterwards, but like I was gonna like ghost him basically, but we both ghosted each other for sure. But yeah, it's hard. First, like we're like bad, awkward dates, like. And I've gone on bad, awkward dates and then gone on second bad, awkward dates.
Oh, yeah, I've done that, and I don't know why. It's just like, because the attraction's there, but it's just not like, it's just like, oh, like physically I'm into you, but our personality, like, don't, like, there's no chemistry. Yeah. And I think that's what causes the second bad date. And I hate that.
I hate that so much. And I'm like, even though I'm just newly, like, in a relationship, I like, if this ends, I'll be fine single forever. I'll be fine single forever. I don't know if I ever want to go through
That's honestly where I am. I'm 35. Like you said that thing about starting a garden. I literally started a tomato garden like last week.
That's amazing.
Like I'm like, and it's not, like I have my friends, my dalliances.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, like first of all, I don't have time to date. I don't I don't want to be like, okay, like the few spare time that I have that I could be hanging out with like myself or my friends. I'm gonna go meet a stranger who might be a fucking weirdo. Like, I'd rather hang out with the weirdos that I know and love.
Oh, absolutely.
And just because I do want to be in a relationship, but somebody just needs me to deliver me a person that I'm compatible with, because
it's hard
won't
dating.
go find one.
It's hard dating and being a stand-up comedian. I find like. You have a day job, and like most of us have day jobs, and we also are working at night. We have 2 full-time jobs. Like how you like, and the idea of actually dating someone, putting mental energy into that, like it's so challenging, and
It's just not worth it. I'm fine. Like I don't know. Like I wouldn't mind being in a relationship, but just the thought of being like actively, I'm gonna go on OkCupid. I'm gonna swipe. I'm gonna have these same conversation 5 times in one day. And like, oh well, my name is actually Scottish for Elizabeth. Oh, I lived in South Korea and Hong Kong. Like, just like I already know what questions you're gonna ask based on my profile.
Yeah.
Oh
you
my
just,
god.
Like, have to send them like a PDF of like everything they need to know. Everything they need to know, and then be like, read this. Yeah. Do your homework. Then get back to me.
Yeah, I'll start with the weird shit too, just to weed out any.
Get that out of the way. I think it's a good investment in time to put together PDF. I will do that if I'm ever on the dating scene ever again. I don't like. Oh my god, the idea of having to have the first little exchanges, like, oh, what do you do?
I hate it.
No, I don't. I like. And I've kind of like I've gotten. I think I would get to the okay. Let's just have coffee, because I'm not doing this right. Like I'm not doing the back and forth. Like I think I'm at that point where I would be that way, but I may not be. I don't know. I'm not sure. Do you remember the first app you ever downloaded? What was it?
It was when I lived in Hong Kong. I can't remember what it was. It was similar. It was like an OkCupid type app.
Okay.
It might have been. It was. I can't remember what it was called.
Specific.
I don't know, but it was like very, because this was like 2013.
Was it like 2014?
So it was something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it might have been like like it was one that I don't think is around anymore.
Okay.
And that was actually what led to my first ever dating app date, which was like. Makes the Disney date look like a wholesome accident. Like it was bad.
Really?
I ran away from the guy at the end of it.
Was this the guy that smelled like cologne? Is that where the joke comes from?
Yeah.
Tell us about that date.
So,
I want to know.
So my first, I'd been in Hong Kong for like a week, and like before that, I lived in South Korea, and like in Korea, like. It was super easy to make friends, and like everyone from my work just instantly was like, "Oh, it's your first week here. We have all these plans for you. Let's be friends."
That's so cool.
And it was great.
That's
it was
so
amazing.
Cute.
Hong Kong was not like that. There's like we don't give a crap. And I was
here?
like, anyone want to hang out this weekend? And they're just sort of like, I don't know, join a meetup group. Like, just like, okay. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna find a boyfriend then, I guess. And
no friends find a boyfriend.
Exactly. And so I download whatever the app was, and I meet up with this guy, and he said he was Italian and that his name was like Luciano or something. He was from London, Ontario, and his name was Luke, first of all. So we meet up outside of Abercrombie and Fitch. Oh. Yeah. And he had just bought like bags and bags of their cologne, which like they pump into the street, and like whenever I was in the part of Hong Kong that had that store, I would cross the street because it would just smell for days. I'm sorry if anyone watching or listening, where's that cologne? But honey, you got to change. It's like terrible. I can smell it when I'm just thinking about it. It's horrible.
Experiment a bit with the scent. Like scents. Try something
Literally,
else.
Axe body spray would be better than that. Like,
God, Axe body spray.
I mean, honestly, I love the smell of Old Spice. So like, try an Old Spice.
It's my dad, so I can't. Can't. That and Aqua Velva. My dad changes in between those, and Aqua Velva is probably the first cologne that's ever been invented on this planet. And and my dad douses himself with it for some reason, but only like once a week. He will shower, then get dressed up, which is a Hawaiian shirt, douse himself with Aqua Velva, and then go out for dinner with my mom.
That's adorable.
It's adorable, but the thing is, he thinks he's all being cute and he's getting like all dolled up for his wife. My mom hates cologne. Hates cologne. And so he's doing it just for himself, right?
I mean, look, self-care is important.
Yeah,
I think my high school boyfriend wore Old Spice, so I feel like that's why it's like a little sense memory of
scent memories are really nice. I really like those. Anyways, go back to the story.
So this guy's like, meet me at Abercrombie, and so we do. And he's like, let's go inside, because they have like male models in there just standing topless. And he's just like, don't you want to see? And like, he's saying like really like degrading things about the male models. And I'm like, what is this guy? But I always think maybe he's joking. Like, whenever somebody's being truly awful, my instinct is to be like, this is a bit.
Truly, this man's a joke.
And it went from bad to worse. So then we go to, we tried to go to this bar, and it was an Armani bar, like a Armani branded bar. So it was very fancy. And I was like,
Hong Kong is different.
Yeah, Hong Kong is a wild place.
You're saying these things. I'm like, how does that even compute?
It's a super cool place. It is, we're not in Kansas anymore. And we go, and it's clearly closed. And I say to him, it's clearly closed. They are having a staff meeting. And he touches my hand, and he goes, it's not closed for us. And I'm like, who the fuck do you think we are? Like, we're
who
English
the fuck
teachers.
Do you think it would have been funny if you actually said it audibly? Who the fuck did you think you are?
If I could replay this date, I mean, it never would have happened, because I would have been wise and not so, like, I'm much better at being alone now than I was then.
Yeah.
So we walk in, and the guy who remember thinks he's Italian, even though he's not.
Okay.
I think he might have like one Italian grandparent. So like it's in the mix, but it's like that'd be like me being like, oh, I can speak Norwegian because I have one.
Yes.
Like that's not the same. You're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've never been there. You know, like it's. So anyway, so we walk in, and the guy's like, sorry, we're closed. He's like, oh, and the guy did have like this really thick accent. And he goes, and Luke, the guy who's on the date with, goes, oh, is that an Italian accent I hear?
Oh my gosh.
And I speak Italian, and then I shit you not, he just says like spaghetti, like ciao bella vespa, like he just like I'm just sort of like, what, like does he think this is impressing me? And the guy's like, I'm from Spain. We're closed. Please leave. And I'm just sort of like, why am I still here? But I also think part of me, even like this was years before I did stand up.
Yeah.
But I was like, this will be a good story though someday, right? Like this is going to be. So we walk through all the streets, you know. We end up somewhere, we end up at another bar, and this is when it gets from like, haha, this guy's a loser to like, oh no. Oh. And he just starts saying like terribly sexist things about all of the waitresses. He says like, women are good for two things, like making babies and making food. And I'm just sort of like shaking with anger, but I also like don't have Google Maps on my phone yet. Like I don't have a phone yet. Like I am like, I can run into these streets and leave, but I have no idea how to get home. Like now I would have just left.
Yes.
But in that moment, I was just so in shock that he was saying all these terrible things. So I just chug my beer, and I'm like, oh my God, I have plans. And he's like, I thought you said you didn't know anyone. I was like, I do, I guess. Yes. Like my neighbor, you know, I just like found a way to leave. So we walk back to the metro station, and it's like a couple stops, so we have to go. But I just like, I need to be away from this man.
Yeah.
And he's like, which station are you going to? And I say, I'm going to Wanchai. And he goes, oh, I'm going in that direction as well. Thank goodness we can ride the metro together. And I almost started crying.
Yeah.
And so then I heard the metro coming, and I heard its like doors making the like ding, 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 because it was about to close. And I just booked it. Like I just ran as fast as I possibly could.
Yeah.
Like just like no regard for anyone around me. I'm like pushing people out of the way. I run and I jump on the train, and the doors closed right behind me. And I turned around and he was right there, but like on the other side of the door. And like, I was just like, and he was, and he looked at me like, oh, this sucks. Cause clearly a woman running away from me isn't a sign that, and like I sat down and he texted me at like before I even got to the seat. Like, just sort of like, that was a great time.
What?
We definitely have chemistry.
What?
And I didn't respond.
Yeah.
And he like kept messaging me. And I was like, how? We were not on the same date, clearly. Or I'm just like too nice. And I kind of need to learn to like be less nice with weirdos. And I have. Like, you know, this was 10 years ago. I've changed a lot as a person. But oh my God. It was truly
was
horrible.
Was this like the first guy you ghosted ever, or did you tell him to fuck off?
I think so. I think this, because
he obviously wasn't gonna get the hint if even if you told him directly. I don't think.
Yeah, no, he was a dumbass and a piece of garbage.
Ew, ew. Yeah. I mean, you alluded to this before a little bit, but have you dated people just for the material, for stand-up material?
I've definitely gone on dates before where I've been like, worst case, I'll get a joke out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I definitely have too. I hate saying it, but yes, I definitely have.
Yeah.
How would you compare the way you dated in your 20s to now that you're in your 30s?
I know, I just don't.
You just don't date at all now?
No, I in my 20s, like, so like I have borderline personality disorder. And in my 20s, I had not yet received treatment for that. So I was just very desperate for any ounce of like love and affection that anyone could give to me, because I had none of it going on internally.
Okay.
And so I think in my 20s, I was really just like chasing that. And also that led to me being in a lot of just like really shitty relationships with people who like took advantage of that. So I think now, like, you know, I've gone on a couple dates here and there, and it's sort of, now I'm just more realistic about it. Like when I was in my 20s, I'd be like, going on a date, he's the one. You know, we both like The Simpsons. He's, you know, it's just like we both like the Beatles. That's so rare. You know, like just sort of.
You would like build this fantasy of that wasn't
and
even
I still
there.
Do that a little bit, but
we
like
all do.
I don't believe it anymore.
Yes,
you know?
You build the fantasy for fun. I don't actually believe any of this, but if it'd be nice if it came true. Yeah, for sure. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about borderline personality disorder? What it's like? How it affects your life?
I mean, now it's sort of better because I did go through dialectical behavioral therapy, which is DBT. There's so many acronyms coming up, and so it's basically, for me, it manifested itself in a lot of like emotional ups and downs, like extreme mood swings. Like, you know, going from like wanting to be unalive to just having the best day within half an hour, you know, like just very quick. There are some kind of like, it's not technically mania, but like, you know, sort of mania type things with it where it just, we had to be really excited and ready to go. And yeah, it's basically just really big ups and really big downs. And for me, I just like hated myself, lots of like body dysmorphia, like and just, you know, like, you know, when you're like really annoyed about something and so you're like, I'm gonna calm down and take a breath, like just the inability to do that. But with any emotion. So like when it's good, it's great. And it's like, yay, like ride that. But when it's bad, it's so bad.
Yeah. For sure. I wanted you to describe, because it's so misunderstood. I find as a mental illness, it's so misunderstood. And you've been very honest about it on stage and off stage, like within the stand-up community. And I find it really refreshing that like someone's so honest about like having this mental illness. And I definitely try to like follow your suit, because I have like extreme anxiety. I have bouts of depression, but it's really, really hard to be honest about it, especially on stage. Because like, I don't know, a lot of people just don't, if there's a stigma there always, like I hope not always, but there's still a stigma there. So
I mean, yeah, like there are definitely like even therapists who like won't treat people with BPD. Like when I've been in crisis and have been at the hospital for it, they find out you have BPD and they're suddenly just like, oh, okay, she's being dramatic, and just treat you as such, which like,
oh, wow.
Okay, but it's still in my head. This is real.
Yeah.
Like it's real to me. I don't care. Like, it's really misunderstood, and like it's annoying because like before therapy or like when I've been in crisis, I've definitely done awful things, but I don't think I'm an awful person.
No.
And I think like BPD can sort of, cause behavior that isn't great, but I also think that people with BPD, like I read somewhere that it's like walking around without any skin on. So like you just feel everything.
Yeah.
It's like just walking around, your whole body is an open wound.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
which is intense. And obviously you would have these reactions to different things that are extreme, but it's ultimately not your fault. And you can go through therapy to shift those behaviors and prevent those those episodes or whatever we want to call it from happening. But I think it because there's this terrible representation in the media of it for sure. So I think it's great that you're just out there being honest about it. Yeah.
That's one thing that I enjoy about like talking about it on stage a little bit. I feel like I kind of want to write a little more about it.
Yeah.
Because, like, even if I just mention therapy or, like, just anxiety or anything that kind of goes along with it, like, there's always a couple people in the audience who at least cheer. And I've definitely, I remember, like, my first summer doing comedy, I was doing an outdoor show at Blue Dog. And I said, like, a joke about BPD. And, like, this young lady came up to me with tears in her eyes. And she was like, I, recently been diagnosed. I feel so much shame. Like, thank you for saying that joke, because it made me feel better. And I was just like, that was like really cool. That was probably like one of the coolest things that has ever happened in my stand-up career.
Absolutely. I would love to have more material about my mental illness. And I mean, maybe this podcast is more of a platform for it. I do find it's hard to write material about it, although I get a lot of jokes among like my roommate or like my boyfriend or like my friends, like when I'm having a moment or like when I'm being anxious, and like we can find the laughter in it, but it's hard to like put that on stage, because I find immediately the audience gets very tense about it. So it's just like, and especially if you have 5 minutes at open mic, it's just like, okay, you're gonna feel tense, but let's get over it, because I have something funny to tell you, but like you don't have enough time for that. But it's definitely something I want.
Yeah, something I find like you have to incorporate it into like a longer set and be like, oh, you know me, here's a bunch of silly stuff about dating, and then it's like, wham, mental illness, haha, sneak attack. Because I've definitely my mental health jokes go at the very least in the middle of my set. Oh,
yes. Yeah. You just feel the buttholes clench up.
Yeah. You gotta let them get to know
Yeah.
You know, this
but I
cutie,
think
and
like your classic like BPD joke is really really smart. Like I'm Elspeth Wright, like, and you say those acronyms. It's a really fun way, a like really clever way. I don't want to like say the joke on because I want you to hear it on stage and for you all to laugh. Yes. But it's a very very clever. Anyways, to get back to like the dating topic, I mean I have a few other questions about it. What would you tell your younger self about dating? What would you tell your younger self?
Avoid men named Alex. There was like a year and a half where it was just like every guy was named Alex. They were all terrible.
Yeah, Jasons aren't very good either.
What is
I'm
it?
sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sure there are some good Alexes. If you're a good Alex, hit me up. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, to quote RuPaul.
Oh yes, the wonderful queen.
Yes, exactly.
Our wonderful god. Like,
yeah,
he's a god now.
Yeah. Like, how are you gonna love yourself, or how are you gonna love somebody else if you can't love yourself? I just messed up the quote, but you know.
Yeah. Love your damn self.
Yeah, you gotta love your damn self, and I really definitely did not for up until recently. And I was just looking for it so hard. And you know, when I was in good relationships, I'd put so much pressure on it because I needed that person.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have like a sense of self. I didn't have, you know, so like I'd say like the one like good relationship I was in my 20s, I totally demolished.
Okay.
Because I mean, untreated mental illness and just my inability to love myself and just like, you know, it's like if this ended, which it did, obviously, like if this ends, that's the end of the world. And that's like, who am I? And, you know, I think it's just sort of, like love yourself, take care of yourself, stop trying to please people if you're not happy and like be nicer.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a tremendously hard journey to go through. It's so painful. I went through, I mean, you know, like I've been years of not loving myself. I truly like, and it still seeps in there. Like those pathways in your brain are fucking strong. Though, like really, really strong. Like where you like have this narrative, like I don't deserve this. I'm garbage. Like this is happening because of me. Like because I'm terrible. But like but like it took me, I think like a decade of just like therapy and work and just like, just being kinder to myself to like, just love myself. But again, the negativity seeps in.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll catch myself saying like mean stuff to myself and I have to just sort of be like, no.
Yeah.
But it like when I was in my 20s and like throughout my teens and childhood, that was just the narrative I had in my head all the time. It was just, you're a piece of crap. You're ugly. You're, you know, like, and it's like.
So that's like the easier pathway to go to for many years. And then like when you switch that, then like it becomes easier.
Yeah.
And then, but like when you're mixed dating into it, then like it can be a complete disaster, codependency, just like all of that. And I think like definitely like what you said, I can relate to like what I would tell my younger self is like, you are perfect the way you are and you will find someone that loves you no matter like all of you, like you don't have to like, you don't have to adjust for someone else. You don't have to change yourself for like, you are fine. You are good. You are great. Where like I would just change my entire like personality to match this person because I was like, but I need someone. I need someone because like, and I'm garbage, so I have to change or whatever. So it's super, super hard. It's super hard. Anyways, so we're coming to the end of our hour. I always have a few questions that I ask every guest, and I'll go into that. What inspires you? What inspires your writing, your comedy? You went into talking about your mental illness inspires a little bit of your material, but in general, what inspires your comedy?
That's such a hard. I think if I'm going through something, trying to find the light in it, like trying to find what's funny about it. Which sometimes, like, I wrote a joke the other day, and it's like, that's too dark to ever say anywhere. But I was like, haha, like, I got a chuckle out of, like, a really crappy situation. I think just, like, my everyday life. Like, I think it's, I see the world through, like, a slightly different lens because of my, like, mental health stuff. And so sometimes I'll just see things that I find funny and write about it, or... You know, just awkward situations can be very funny after they're done. So I don't know. I feel like lately I've been writing a lot because I'm hosting a weekly open mic now. So it's like,
I want so great to have that.
Yeah.
That
it's
outlet.
Also though, like when I've like returned people, I'm like, I have one new joke that isn't going to work. Like,
I mean, they most likely don't remember what you said before. And so,
But, I think just sitting down and actually like just being like, okay, got it right. Like,
absolutely. I mean, we definitely as comedians see things through a different lens, and I can't. I'm not a comedian that can just write like one-liners of just like absurd things. Like it's just like, it really is just like my own stuff. Like like I don't know what else to write about but me. I mean, I'm sure if I tried, I can write one-liners, but it's just not me. I just like,
I would, oh man, what I would do to be able to write one-liners. I have like 2 one-liners, and it's just like, I love a good one-liner.
Oh, they're so good.
I can't.
They're so good.
Yeah. My brain works in paragraphs.
Yeah. Same. And I mean, like, I like talking about myself, so it's okay.
Exactly.
It's all right.
You should start a podcast.
Right? Funny how that works out. My next question is, what is your deepest passion?
My deepest passion. I feel like, has everyone said comedy? Okay.
No. Yeah.
Honestly, I think
I would expect comedians to mostly say that, but yeah.
I wish I had a better, more like, I love helping orphans. No, I love getting on stage and talking about myself.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, comedy really like, it has shaped so much of who I am and like changed my life. And like, you know, like I was going through like a treatment program for like, the DBT that I mentioned beforehand. And I was, you know, like trigger warning, but like self-harming. And, you know, once I started getting more shows, I was like, okay, well, you know, I can't have those marks and go on stage. Like comedy really did. It came at the exact right time in my life, and it helped me through so much, and it continues to. And like, I'm really passionate about it. Like it's,
I mean, anyone that sees you on stage can tell for sure. Anyone that meets you can tell you work so freaking hard. And yeah, like I expect most of the guests to say that, but like, I think what I hope, and I think we'll see this trend in that question, is that comedy does come in a point in your time, like in your life, that like just really helps you and just like gives you so much. It has given me so much, and it like came in the right time for me, because I was like finishing school. I hated school. And then I just had this like beacon of light that like I would get, and just like pushed me through. And then like it made me like, if further emphasize that like I should not be in going this path. I should be in the creative path, because like academia was just not my thing, even though I spent so much time there. But yeah, I can relate to that for sure. My next question is, what is one of the hardest moments of your life?
So I brought this up already, but like doing DBT was so hard. It was twice a week for like 6 hours, like 3-hour segments. I had to drudge up all of the gunk and put it on the table and examine it. And it was like, there was a group session that was, I think, 3 hours long. And then I had an hour with my like one-on-one therapist, and it was so hard. But it is the reason I'm still alive. So I just, comedy. But like, it's definitely, it was really, really hard. It was like, I think over a year as well. So
Over
for
a year.
like
That's
twice
intense.
a week,
Yeah.
it was very intense.
Yeah.
But so worth it. And like, if anyone listening is, is in DBT or going to go to DBT, like, it's gonna be hard, but do it.
It gets better.
It saved my life. Like,
yeah. I think there's a misrepresentation of like therapy in general that like, oh, you go in and you feel good right away.
Gosh.
Or like, I've been in therapy for 6 years consistently now, and there's still times where I'm just like, this is the worst feeling. Like I thought I dealt with this, but no, we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back, and it's so hard. But then it ultimately is just, it really is just like it's making me functional.
Oh yeah,
it's making me
100%.
functional.
Yeah.
So it's so worth it. Yay, therapy. Woohoo. Well, we're coming to the end, like I said, but I really want to talk about Battle of Wits. I would regret not talking about it because it's one of the greatest shows ever. And it's so cute. It's so fun. Tell the listeners about it. I'll put more of a context. It's Elspeth's show that she runs here in Montreal. It's once a month. She started it before the pandemic, so it was online, it was in person. It's coming up for the Zoo Fest Just for Laughs Festival. This will come out after that, but it was there. It was awesome.
Great.
It was great. Sold out crowds. Amazing.
TV executives saw it, and now you can watch it on CBC.
Yes, exactly. We're putting that out in the universe now, and it will happen.
Come on, CBC Gem, you're looking for content.
Yes, exactly. So tell listeners about it, the concept of it. It's so original.
It's a comedy game show. It's similar to a lot of British panel shows, sort of like 8 out of 10 Cats or QI, but it has its own little spin. So it starts out with like a round of impossible to answer questions, and the comedians all do that. And then we have the what does it mean round, which is like words that are indefinable. I think in the like 50 shows we've done, we've had 2 people know the words. And then it's 2 truths, 1 lie, which is just a classic sort of theater kid game. And I love that because I love seeing what people lie about. And it's so funny.
It is so fun. And oh, God, I've had so much fun on that show. Yeah.
And my favorite round is the how much round, where I find just weird stuff for sale on the internet, which is just endless. Lots of taxidermy, to the point where like I had a friend gift me this weird taxidermy thing that's just in my apartment now.
What did you name it again? Oh,
Alistair.
It was like on a live episode or something that
Trana Wintour named him.
Yes,
I think it was Alistair Banks.
I think so.
I think is the dad from Mary Poppins.
Yes,
but it suits him. And it's a really fun game. Like I've been so like fortunate kind of that like during the pandemic I was able to have just a bunch of amazing people on. Like I had Ali Hassan on and like Sean Cullen and like just a bunch of like super cool people from across the country. Like I had one episode that was just like 2 writers for this hour is 22 minutes. Just that's like insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
And it was super fun, super cool.
It's such a fun show. You can find a lot of episodes like on your YouTube. It's Battle of Wits, right? On YouTube. Go see it live. It's really, really fun and creative. We do have to wrap up. I can talk to you forever, but thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was so nice. I had a great time.
We'll come back and we'll talk more about dating, I guess. I don't know. I want to thank all the listeners for tuning in. I want to thank our funders, our sponsors, Pantelis Comedy for letting us use the studio, Poseidon, Zach Kick on the ones and twos, Fernando, that's our social media expert, and follow, subscribe. This was House of Stone.